Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're with us tonight. I'm Roseanne Haven.
And I'm Peter Albrecht. First on 5, News 5 investigates child abuse registries. While they're a tool law enforcement and the public can access to protect children, sometimes they come with some unexpected consequences. Roseanne, that's something you found out.
Absolutely, Pete. There are a lot of people on the Alabama State Child Abuse Registry, and they don't even know it. What's worse, family attorneys tell News 5 it's way too easy to wind up on the registry, then nearly impossible to get off it, even after a court decides you did nothing wrong. But a new policy may offer a glimmer of hope to some people who for years have battled the bureaucracy of the Alabama Department of Human Resources to clear their reputation.
See how he's swinging himself real high?
A carefree afternoon swinging in the backyard. But getting here has been a painful and costly process for the Odom family. Even then, there's something missing because of what happened inside their home 5 years ago.
Did you know Jax wasn't even born that time?
Jax wasn't even born then?
Yeah. I'm going to show you more of my baby pictures. Look.
Knox is 6 years old, showing me where he lives with his younger brother Jax and parents Candace and Joshua. When Candace was pregnant with Jax, the doctor recommended Knox learn to sleep in his own crib.
He would scream and cry for really all night long. It would last, like he would take breaks because he would get so exhausted, and then he would just crank back up with the crying. Like sometimes he would even vomit.
They took the pediatrician's advice not to give in to his cries. Josh explains what happened when he went to check on Knox one morning.
I walked in the door and he was picking himself up, and when he turned around, his whole face was purple and he had dried blood on his face. And I didn't know exactly what happened. My thoughts were racing. I had a million thoughts running through my head. The only thing I could think of at the time was maybe he had hit his head on the crib railing because it's an oak crib.
At the hospital, Candace, who's a social worker, sensed what the staff was thinking.
I told my husband, I said, they think we hurt him.
She received a phone call from a DHR worker saying they were being accused of harming Knox and had to leave the hospital. 5 months pregnant, Candace collapsed.
I can still hear my screams, how they sound, and just having to walk out of that hospital because he was asleep, having to walk out of that hospital and tell him goodbye, not knowing if or when I was going to see him again.
Accused of child abuse, they weren't allowed to see Knox for 5 months. The boy lived with his grandmother in Monroeville. It was Mimi who noticed Knox making peculiar movements, including banging his head on hard surfaces.
He would wake up, he would be just slinging himself on the walls.
Their attorney advised the grandmother to install a video camera in his room.
We had over 20 videos showing him banging his head into the crib repeatedly on his own. And it turned out that a physician who was an expert in autism spectrum disorder diagnosed him with self-injurious behavior and pretty moderate ASD.
Josh and Candace paid for Knox to begin treatment for autism while trying to regain custody. When Candace gave birth to younger brother Jax, DHR dug in their heels.
I had just, given birth. I was in the bathroom and the nurse comes in. Ms. Odom, the DHR worker's here to see you. Like, you're in such a vulnerable position. So we're like, okay. And she told us, she was like, we're going to be filing an order to take Jax into custody.
A family judge denied that emergency pickup order. DHR then filed another petition with the same judge, asking for full custody of Jax, claiming he was in imminent danger from his parents. The judge denied that too, demanding Jax immediately be returned. Then, after nearly $100,000 in legal bills for the custody battle, that same judge ordered Knox be returned home too. Their family finally reunited.
The judge was very adamant in his order that he believed that those children needed to be returned to their parents, and that DHR had really exceeded their discretion and their power in how they handled this case.
Even though the judge cleared the parents of wrongdoing, Josh and Candace are still on the child abuse and neglect registry.
If someone gets reported as a possible perpetrator of child abuse or neglect, they automatically get put on that registry with the state.
According to DHR's administrative code, a report of child abuse neglect must be entered into their central registry within 3 working days of an accusation.
If you get reported to DHR, they have to investigate. If the investigation concludes that basically they think you are the perpetrator of the abuse or neglect, then that finding will be indicated. It's probably what most of us would call guilty, but that's not the word that they use. If they either think A, you didn't do it, or B, there's not enough evidence to say that you did it or not, then the finding will be not indicated. But regardless of which finding it is, you are going on the registry because you've been reported.
DHR marked both Joshua and Candace on the registry as indicated for abuse. DHR's Deputy Commissioner of Children and Family Services won't discuss specific cases like the Knoxes, citing confidentiality restrictions. Do you think everyone who is on the registry who has been indicated deserves to be on that list?
I do.
Why?
Because there was an allegation of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Those individuals had an opportunity to interact with our staff.
An administrative law judge overturned the DHR staff decision to mark Candace as indicated for abuse. Because Candace is licensed to work with children and vulnerable adults, DHR's code allowed her to defend herself in a court hearing where she could present evidence as to why she shouldn't be marked as indicated on the registry. Josh doesn't have a license to work with children. He works for the Alabama Department of Revenue, so he wasn't given the same shot to clear himself.
So I can't volunteer for anything with children, so like sports teams, coaching, Little League baseball, obviously they would do a background check and I would wind up, they would see that I would been indicated for child abuse.
What's it like for you to know your son is on this registry?
It is the most horrible thing. It haunts me. Joshua came from nothing. We've lived in a rural area for our whole life. He put himself through the University of Alabama, him and Candace both did, worked very hard, got out, got a job, and we all was so proud. Now they get to start their families. And for him not to be able to be a full dad, it kills me.
I hope one day I can forgive these people because I don't want to carry this, but I'm still working on that.
I would just like to see change in the whole system, especially I don't see how someone can be put on a register after being proven innocent in court. My whole life, being in the United States of America, my whole life I've heard we're free, born free, and now I question it. I don't think we're really free. I think we're free until something like this happens. And I would just like to see change and more accountability.
News 5 started digging into this months ago. We went to Montgomery, where DHR told us change is coming. Effective June 14th, anyone accused can request a hearing. Welcome news to Josh and Candace's attorney.
Any person who DHR finds responsible for abuse or neglect, even if they're not a caregiver or professional, is technically entitled to an administrative hearing.
How did you find out that DHR policy had changed?
So it was actually brought to my attention after you all interviewed Karen Smith, that she claimed that the policy had changed. And I think I found out the first week of May, and I found an amendment deep in the interwebs that was signed on April 30th that said that this new policy would go into effect in June of 2025. I had not heard of it prior to that, and none of my colleagues had heard of it either.
Now the question is, will the DHR policy change help the Odom family? For people who did not get their due process, who did not get their day in court, who did not get to go before anyone and have their say, and for people to see them and them present evidence, do you think they should be able to do that now? Should it be retroactive?
I believe that if someone wants to have that conversation with us, we would be open to having that conversation and looking at the information, but I cannot guarantee that it would be a retroactive.
Do you think it should be?
I think it would probably depend on the situation.
At least for now, Josh will have to continue watching his sons play ball from a distance.
Go, buddy, go!
I just have to watch from the sidelines and just try to help him as best as I can from there.
Since Josh is still listed on the registry as indicated, there's currently no way for him to be removed from it. Anyone on the registry who is not indicated can request to be taken off after 5 years if there have been no new complaints against them. For Candace, still on the registry listed as not indicated, she must wait 3 more years before an attempt to be taken off the registry. Family attorneys with whom we spoke are convinced there are hundreds of people on the registry who don't even know they're on it and were never given due process. Many of those people are surprised to find out they're on the registry when a background check discovers it during a job application, divorce, or custody battle. If you believe you've been caught up in the system or treated unfairly by the government or in some other way, let us know. Email your information to us at mystory@WKRG.com.